There were no immediate solutions. You're basically broke. Your house isn't paid off. You've got a wife who's approximately 27 years younger. And the whole call was really about who's going to take care of him. And he pretty much said it, who's going to take care of me? Who's going to take care of me? This is why we have to think before we put ourselves in financial positions that we cannot recover from. This is non-recoverable. I don't know how many of you got a chance to watch the video. We did it just a couple days ago, like the day before yesterday, I think it was. It's a 64-year-old guy who is married to a 37-year-old woman, and they are pregnant, okay? Have you ever listened to a video or a call, whatever, okay? You've seen something, heard something. But for these purposes, we're going to refer to Dave Ramsey, all right? We listened to this Dave Ramsey call, and I have to be honest, guys, it's been on my mind. Now, I'm 57. No way I can get pregnant because I had a hysterectomy at 27. But have you ever heard a call and it's like it just stays with you for whatever reason? The economic conditions are so poor. He's broke. She's 37. He's shipping her home, okay, to go with her parents because he can't take care of her. He's got medical issues. And they're having a baby. He's a boomer. She's a millennial. All right. And, it's interesting because I think one of the commenters, user, I think was positive it was user. Okay. User wrote in and basically was like, this is a really bad situation. It's a situation of not thinking. And it really made me realize, there are some financial situations that we have that are temporary. Okay, you made a bad car purchase. Bad, okay? You may have to give up the car. Been there, done that. You may have to work 2 jobs to keep the car. But either way, all right, after 6, 7, 8 years, hopefully, okay, the car is done. That's it. Then there are those situations that we put ourselves into. There is no end. Child rearing has no end. And I guarantee you, my dad's 85 years old and, my stepmom's in her 70s and they still help out the children. Okay. Voluntarily, of course. And we appreciate everything they do, but it just never ends. And I think what it is he's 64. And like I said in the video, if he had been financially stable and really all we were simply dealing with was just, I'm 64 and I, have a kid with this 37-year-old, but, our finances are all good. We're just sorting out a few minor things. But I think the folks in the top 3, 4 most disastrous calls, every time, all right. And I know Jamie would agree with this. Okay. Every time we think we've heard the most disastrous call possible, something always is more disastrous. Okay. I mean, seriously, someday, maybe this school year, I will put up, my recommended 4 calls that I think are the most disastrous. I think this one may sit at number 1 only for the fact that he is 64, bringing in a life to this world. And I think that's what makes it number 1 above all the disastrous calls that we've heard. And I really thought about, and it was one of those calls where Ramsey really could not help them. They really couldn't. It was Ramsey and John. There were no immediate solutions. You're basically broke. Your house isn't paid off. You've got a wife who's approximately 27 years younger. And the whole call was really about who's going to take care of him? And he pretty much said it, who's going to take care of me? Who's going to take care of me? This is why we have to think before we put ourselves in financial positions that we cannot recover from. This is non-recoverable. Okay. This is not something that you can just simply say, well, it's a temporary problem and it'll go away. No, you brought in a kid. You're bringing in a kid. The kid's not even born yet. The kid is due. Okay. So I think that's kind of why it has like been on my mind. I know it seems kind of weird, not like infatuation type, like constantly, but it's just one of those, as a creator and stuff, and on this channel, the consumer debt channel, I sit and I always ask us, and you've heard me say this, is this avoidable? Was this avoidable? And I am truly, truly convinced that I believe, and in looking at my own history as well, I really think that most of our financial undoing is caused by us. And I really, really believe that until we really look at, the decisions that we've made, if we look at our financial situation and we look at what did we have control of, you would be surprised to find that you had control of almost all of it. Yeah. You can blame somebody else and say, well, they were at fault for this, they were at fault for that. But there's something that I really, really believe, okay? Short of somebody who just flat hides all their debt from their spouse. And there are people that do that. But here's the thing, in running this channel and talking to, you guys and getting ideas on how to better, because we learn from each other on how to better manage debt. I really think, and I know I say this a lot, but I really think Parler's suggestion of, look at credit reports. You see, people don't want to do that because when you do that, you can no longer say that you didn't know. And I am really convinced that so much of our debt, we know, we just don't want it confirmed. You really can't tell me to some extent that you have absolutely no clue as to what the budget is. You have absolutely no clue as to what your spouse makes. You have absolutely no clue. Like, wow, we seem to be going on a lot of trips and vacations, yada, yada. How are we paying for all this? But instead, we kind of want to stick our head in the sand. We want to go, we don't know. I don't really, really believe, and this is another reason this call has stayed with me. I don't think this guy wants this child. I think this is going to eventually end in divorce, and I think he is going to wind up paying child support. But to the young lady who chose to marry someone 27 years older, that is broke. This is not, I'm marrying someone who's got lots of money, and I'm not talking you have to be wealthy, okay? But he's financially stable, okay? To her, if a divorce occurs, she ain't going to get the money she would have been able to get had she married somebody closer, okay, closer to her age range that was still in their prime physical working years. So in other words, let's say they do get divorced, because if I'm a betting person, that's where I believe eventually head. All right. If they do divorce, yeah, order child support. But when you're talking a guy who's 64 years old with medical issues and all of that, how much support do you think you're going to get? So should it wind up in divorce, can she turn around and say, man, this is all my ex-husband's fault? Because I mark my words, I'm just going to say it. The marriage ain't going to last. It's not. Okay. And I'm just coming out and saying that, okay? She's not going to be able to say, oh, it's all my ex-husband's fault, he's not providing. She chose to marry him. In other words, they chose each other without really thinking about the consequences of their age difference, their financial difference, all right? I think it was just a young puppy love. Maybe he had been married and divorced and thought, I need a woman who's 27 years younger. You can actually marry, divorce, and fall in love with a woman or a man that's somewhat relative in your age range, so you don't wind up with these huge disparities and different life paths, because I really don't see how that relationship is going to work. So I would say, to this point, I think that's the number one worst call we've heard. And like I said, it really has to do with the fact that a child is being brought into this with a father who is 64 and ailing health, a mother who is 37 and isn't working. So if you haven't had a chance to check out that video, check it out. All right.